Hey guys, some gamer dude here. Today I want to do something a bit out of the ordinary. Normally I talk about gameplay related topics, but Bakugan isn't just a game, it's a toy line too. I want to take the time to talk about my favourite molds of the first year of Bakugan. The toys I think are enjoyable in ways that transcend their game usage. So let's begin with my top 5 Bakugan of Bakugan Battle Planet. I don't think anyone pays much attention to Core Hydranoid anymore, but I like the little guy. Unlike the Ultra, he's a pretty well-defined lion, with part of the marble making up the mane. I also like how he explodes from the marble, like he's pouncing. The middle of the line having a bar that makes up the body, allowing for this action. Hydranoid does have a manual part, his rear legs, but they are so inconsequential that you'd be excused for forgetting about them, and the toy doesn't look any worse for it. Hydranoid also starts something of a running theme of many Bakugan I really like, where the marble form is incorporated into the Bakugan form. I think there are definitely better Bakugan than Hydranoid, but he's full of charm, and from what I've seen, better than the Armored Alliance Hydranoid core. As for the best Hydranoid, I think other than Ventus, they're all pretty nice, but Darkest takes my top spot. Just barely. I don't like Hydranoid Ultra. I have 3 of the thing, Arquos, Aurelus and Ventus, but I'm not a fan. I don't think it looks much like anything and is visually a mess, so I wasn't expecting much from Core Hydranoid. Then I got one and I was like, wow, this is pretty cool. Combining aspects of Core Nilius with Core Trino/Core Plutonium to make a Bakugan that is visually more striking than Nilius and takes up a decent amount of real estate. This is a big boy for a core and is so impressive. It's also very distinctive and fun to mess around with. Like most of the Bakugan of my top 5, he incorporates the marble form into the Bakugan form really well. He explodes from the marble, rather than folding in a manner similar to a contortionist. My main complaint with Hydranoid is the lack of paint in the heads. The eyes and the mouths are left unpainted, and there is no markings around the face, so they blend into the neck. He kinda looks like a hand if you don't notice the details. But other than that, I like the big boy. I like the Ventus and Chaos ones more than Arquos and Pyrus. Ventus and Arquos Hydranoids look quite nice. Mantanoid Ultra and my number 1 was some of the first Bakugan I really fell for. Ones I just saw and said to myself, I need that. Unlike number 1 and number 2, I didn't end up collecting all the Mantanoid Ultras, but I got the one I liked the most. He takes up a big space, he's a fairly big boy. Even for an Ultra, he's a big boy. Looks very impressive and intimidating. He looks a lot like a mantis. You wouldn't mistake him for anything else. To me anyway, he was very instantly likable. I love the paint apps on the eyes and the forelegs. They make them pop and draw attention to the toy. Most Bakugan do have bright clashing paint apps, but Mantanoids just work on a larger scale because Mantises have those large bulbous eyes and iconic forearms. The big problem with Mantanoid, and the reason why the majority of Bakugan on this list are cores, is that he can be a bit frustrating. Like most of the Ultras, I like the ambition, and you do get used to it over time, but that doesn't make it appropriate for the game application. Darkest is obviously my favourite. I love the bright lime green on the black with the purple accents, but I quite like all release Mantanoid Ultras, bar Chaos. I don't like the Chaos one much, which is funny because it's the most viable in-game. I just don't think the blue clashes enough with the white to be as visually striking as the other factions. I knew I loved WebM as a design from the moment I first saw him online. He was one I wanted every single version of before I even owned one, which I do now. Not a spider guy, but WebM is such a wonderful design. I needed him. WebM also works so well because he plays to being a spider really well. To put WebM back into his marble form, you retract all the legs into the undercarriage like he's dying, and then close the spinneret over the legs. Then, when you roll him out, he springs to life. It's not a complex design at all, but as I said, plays to being a spider so very well. Unlike most of the Bakugan in my top 5, where they incorporate the marble form into their Bakugan form, WebM just merges both into perfection. While he's not number 1, he is a spider after all. I'd argue he's a perfect Bakugan in terms of toy design. As for my favourite version, I like all of them, but if I had to choose, I like Aquos WebM the most. The blue and the orange is quite impressive. Honourable mentions. I like Chaos Dragonoid, Darkest Cubbo and Chaos Scorpius quite a bit. All look quite nice in these factions and fit what I feel constitutes as a good Bakugan from a toy angle. They incorporate the marble form into the Bakugan form very well. I just don't think they are as strong or make the impact of my top 5. I was really close to putting Scorpius on. It was a toss between him and Hydranoid. I just kinda like Hydranoid a little more. Chunky Drago is unintentionally rather charming, and Cubbo is Cubbo. He is a good exploding ball. Pegatrix Core is by far my favourite mould introduced in Bakugan Battle Planet. I'd love the list to just be all Pegatrix, but I have to show some restraint here. Pegatrix is just perfect as a core Bakugan design. It utilises the components of the marble to make the form of the alicorn, and it really does look like an alicorn. It's also simple and enjoyable to get back into marble form. There isn't anything in particular I like about it, it's everything. How the core of the toy is a central tire from which the legs, tail, head and wings extend from, then closing to form the ball. It's a perfect Bakugan, and the Chaos version is probably my favourite. I'm not going to talk poorly about Aquos Ventos, Aurelus or Darkest Pegatrix, they are all really nice too, but Chaos just works best with the mould. Pyrus doesn't do it for me though, but I own all 7 versions of the mould. Such a wonderful little toy, simple but elegant. Easily my favourite, and I am happy Armoured Alliance Pegatrix Ultra is a more complex version of this one, with ports for guns. Animals with guns, I like that. So there you have it, my favourite Bakugan moulds of Bakugan Battle Planet. Agree, disagree? Comment below. This has been Some Gamer Dude, and thanks for watching.